Imagine a cold, bleak afternoon on January 2nd, 1945. In his Virginia Beach home, the renowned American mystic and psychic, Edgar Cayce, senses his earthly time drawing to a close. With a profound sense of purpose, he summons his most trusted inner circle, not for a sorrowful farewell, but for a final, urgent share in that promise to reframe their entire understanding of his life's work and the spiritual realities he had so often touched. Known to millions as the Sleeping Prophet, Cayce was on the verge of unveiling insights he had held in the deepest confidence throughout his decades of extraordinary trance readings. The profound words spoken on that pivotal day, within the quiet intimacy of his closest connections, have largely remained shielded from the wider public. Yet, by carefully considering the arc of his dedicated life, the unique context of those final precious hours, and the enduring legacy perpetuated by those who were present, we can now illuminate the essence of what America's most documented psychic urgently wished to convey as he stood upon the very precipice of the spiritual world. These were not casual reflections, but vital revelations he felt compelled to share. On that morning, despite the advanced stage of his illness, Edgar Cayce was graced with remarkable, almost ethereal mental clarity. Though physically weakened from a lifetime of selfless service, he specifically requested the presence of 4 key individuals: his steadfast wife and partner, Gertrude Evans Cayce; his son, Hugh Lynn Cayce, who would carry the torch of his work forward; Gladys Davis Turner, his devoted stenographer who meticulously transcribed nearly every word of his trance discourses; and Thomas Agrew, his biographer and confidant. The moment has arrived for you to grasp the fuller scope of the work, Edgar Cayce might have expressed. His voice perhaps soft, yet imbued with an undeniable spiritual authority that transcended his bodily condition. There are profound currents beneath the surface of the readings, understandings I was guided to keep veiled until now. As I prepare for my journey onward, it is vital I share the deeper truths of all that has unfolded through these many years. The small, devoted group would have looked at one another, a palpable sense of sacred anticipation filling the room, knowing that something of immense significance was about to be imparted. Edgar Cayce, the humble man whose psychic gifts had brought healing, guidance, and profound spiritual enlightenment to countless souls across the globe, never seeking personal enrichment, was now poised to reveal the most carefully guarded secrets of his extraordinary earthly mission. Do you wish to attract positivity and good vibrations into your life? Comment "Believe" below to affirm your desire for good things and to join our collective intention for a brighter path. And please tap like if you're ready to welcome these positive energies. He likely began by speaking of the very wellspring of his incredible information, that mysterious source from which his voluminous readings flowed, and what he intimated would have sent ripples of awe through his listeners. The source, as we have referred to it, he might have confided, his gaze fixed on a point beyond their immediate surroundings, is a reality far more intricate and deeply interconnected with the highest spiritual echelons than has been generally understood. Be sure to stay with us, because as our story unfolds, we'll uncover perspective on Edgar Cayce's unique mission and the source's wisdom that might truly redefine everything you thought you knew about the humble, sleeping prophet. For many years, the world had been astounded by the sheer breadth and depth of the knowledge that poured through him while in his unconscious state. But on this day, Cayce was alluding to a truth even more profound, a revelation that could recast his entire life's purpose and offer humanity a new, compelling lens through which to view its own spiritual destiny. What, then, was the true, intricate nature of the spiritual guidance he received, and what magnificent, overarching purpose lay concealed just beneath the surface of his thousands upon thousands of documented psychic readings? The answer to this question would mark the beginning of several astonishing and deeply moving revelations. Edgar Cayce, taking a slow, deliberate breath, then began to unravel the first great secret. For all these years he might have started, his voice imbued with quiet intensity, we have often referred the origin of the trance discourses simply as the source or the information. I allowed, and was guided to allow, a certain simplicity in this description. But the truth is, the communion I have experienced is with a realm of consciousness, a collective of illuminated minds, so deeply attuned to the Christ principle, so vast in their wisdom, it is almost beyond our human capacity to fully comprehend. His listeners, Gertrude, Hugh Lynn, Gladys, and Thomas, would have leaned in, absorbing every word, Sensing the immense gravity of this disclosure, the term source had always carried a sense of mystery, but Cayce was now pulling back a curtain on something far more dynamic and personal than perhaps even they had imagined. He continued, "It is not merely an impersonal archive I have accessed, like a cosmic library, though the Hall of Records is indeed a part of this. It is a living stream, a conscious, divine current, overseen by great souls, beings of unconditional love and light who completed their earthly cycles but remain deeply committed to humanity's spiritual evolution. Some of these you might recognize by other names from sacred traditions, but their essence is unified in this divine work." The room would have been thick with unspoken questions. Marcel Pseudo-Meyer, Cayce's biographer, represented by Thomas Segru in this adaptation, accustomed to meticulous investigation, would have felt the foundations of his understanding shift. Gladys Davis Turner, who had faithfully transcribed countless readings referencing the source, might have felt a wave of awe, realizing the profound sanctity of the intelligences she had been brushing against through Cayce's sleeping form. But why? Gertrude, his devoted wife, might have gently asked, her voice reflecting the emotion of the moment. Why maintain such a veil of simplicity around something so profound for so long? Edgar Cayce would have looked at them with deep affection and understanding. Because, he would explain, had the full nature of these guiding intelligences, their spiritual stature, been openly proclaimed from the outset, there would have been a great risk. The focus could have shifted from the message to the messengers. The work could have been misconstrued, perhaps leading to the veneration of personalities, celestial or earthly, rather than the earnest application of the spiritual truths themselves, the simple yet profound principles of love, patience, forgiveness, and service. The information was always intended to empower the individual soul, to awaken its own connection to God, not to create dependency on intermediaries, however exalted. He further clarified that these highly evolved spiritual sources had guided him meticulously, ensuring the information provided was tailored to the needs of the time and the individual seeking help. Their purpose was not just to heal bodies or offer solace, though those were vital aspects, but to gently, persistently, sow seeds a higher spiritual understanding across the earth, preparing humanity for an approaching era of unprecedented spiritual awakening and transformation. These great souls were not seeking adoration, but the quiet, dedicated application of divine law in human hearts and lives. The ultimate aim was to help each soul realize its own divine potential and its inherent oneness with God. The relative anonymity of the source was a shield, protecting the purity of the message and the free will of those who received it. But this was only the beginning. Cayce then prepared to speak about the true, far-reaching purpose of his own life's mission, a purpose that extended far beyond the individual readings and into the very spiritual destiny of the planet. What was this grander design he had been a part of? The answer would further astonish his closest companions. As his devoted listeners absorbed the profound implications of the conscious, loving intelligences guiding his trance work, Edgar Cayce then gently shifted the focus to the true, far-reaching scope of his own earthly mission. "Do you believe," he might have posed, a tender light in his eyes, "that my purpose here was solely to dictate readings for individual healings or to offer comfort to those in sorrow?" He paused, allowing the question to settle. Those aspects were and are deeply sacred parts of the work, but they were but the visible surface of a much vaster spiritual undertaking. His voice, though perhaps weak, would have carried an unwavering conviction. The truer, broader purpose of this life's work has been to help establish a conscious bridge, a living conduit between the spiritual realms and your physical world, to help prepare humanity for what I've often alluded to in the readings, a period of immense global transformation, a great transition into a new era of spiritual consciousness. He explained that planet Earth was not merely undergoing physical changes, but was at the cusp of an unprecedented spiritual quickening, a profound shift in awareness, and the work undertaken through him was an essential component in facilitating this awakening. "I came not only to console the afflicted, or to demonstrate the continuity of the soul," Edgar Cayce would have continued, his gaze looking inward, as if seeing the energetic patterns he was describing. "I came to help anchor specific spiritual ideals and healing energies into the physical plane of Earth. Each reading given, each prayer offered, each life seal interpreted, was imbued with more than just words or data. They were and are carriers of spiritual light, designed to subtly elevate the vibrational atmosphere of humanity, one soul at a time. He then revealed a deeper layer, that many of the discourses, especially those dealing with spiritual laws, soul development, and the nature of creation, contain profound spiritual blueprints, not as visible symbols, but as patterns of divine truth. These truths, when meditated upon and sincerely applied in one's life with an open and seeking heart, had the inherent power to awaken latent spiritual perceptions, to deepen the connection with the divine within, and to accelerate the soul's evolution. This is why, he would emphasize, I have always been so insistent that the work not be used for personal enrichment or treated as a commercial enterprise. The readings are not mine. They are gifts from God, spiritual tools offered through me, designed to transform consciousness on a broad scale, to awaken souls to their true heritage and purpose. The establishment of the Association for Research and Enlightenment, he would have reminded them, was intended to be a vessel for this ongoing work, a way to make these spiritual principles available to all seekers, not to create a monument to an individual. His life was to be an example that such divine communion was possible, and that the true aim was service to God and humanity. The information was a sacred trust, given to be shared, studied, and lived. This understanding of the readings as active spiritual catalysts, rather than mere transcripts, cast his entire 40-plus years of service in an even more profound light. His listeners would have begun to grasp the sheer scale of the spiritual architecture he had been a part of. But Cayce was not finished. He then prepared to speak of realities that would stretch their understanding even further, communications from realms beyond Earth, and the true cosmic citizenship of the human soul. Edgar Cayce then gently guided his small, rapt audience toward an even more expansive vista of understanding, one that stretched beyond the confines of earthly existence. You must also know, he would have stated, his gaze perhaps turning towards a window, as if looking out into the vastness of the cosmos, that the spiritual guidance I have received and the very fabric of souls we have explored in the readings are not limited to this single planet. The earth is but one small dwelling place in our Father's infinitely vast and populated universe. This was a topic hinted at in various readings over the years, but he was now emphasizing its profound importance. He spoke of communications, subtle awarenesses that had come through him during the deep trance state, pertaining to life on other planets, intelligences existing in realms far beyond our current comprehension. The source has, at times, opened my awareness to beings from other spheres of existence within God's creation he might have revealed. Some reside in dimensions far more spiritually evolved than our own, while others are journeying through stages of development similar to those we experience here on Earth. He explained that the universe teemed with worlds, countless systems where souls incarnate to learn, to grow, and to evolve, each realm perfectly suited to the developmental needs and vibrational levels of its inhabitants. The Earth, he affirmed, was indeed a challenging plane, often a place of trial and testing, a schoolhouse where souls come to work through karmic patterns and to learn profound lessons of love, patience, and forgiveness. But other planets, he suggested, had already transcended these denser learning experiences, evolving into worlds of regeneration, harmony, or even states of being that we might describe as blissful or celestial. I have perceived, he might have shared, awareness of souls whose origins trace to realms like Venus or Mars in its earlier phases of habitation, and even from planetary systems in galaxies far distant from our own. Some of these advanced souls have, out of immense compassion, chosen to come to Earth at critical junctures, incarnating amongst humanity in special missions to help uplift and guide our planet's evolution. To continue inviting enlightenment and the flow of good things into your journey, comment "Hope" below as a personal affirmation for continued illumination and positive happenings. Cayce then touched upon the origins of some of Earth's greatest spiritual luminaries, suggesting that their profound wisdom and impact often stem from their advanced soul development in other spheres of God's vast creation. Even the Master Jesus, Cayce would have said with deep reverence, the Christ soul was not originally the earth in the same way. He came as a pattern, from the very heart of God, a realm of divine perfection, to show us the way back to our own divine source, to demonstrate the path of selfless love and spiritual evolution. This revelation would have cast the story of Jesus in an even more profound cosmic light, emphasizing the immense sacrifice and love involved in such a mission. The earth, then, was not isolated, but part of a vast, interconnected cosmic family, receiving aid and inspiration from older, wiser siblings in the universe. This understanding offered a message of profound hope and interconnectedness. But what did these cosmic realities mean for the future of humanity and the Earth itself? Edgar Cayce then prepared to share what had been shown about the critical times ahead, the great transition he had previously mentioned. Drawing his loved ones closer with the solemnity of his tone, Edgar Cayce then shifted his focus to the future, to the prophecies that have been woven throughout his readings concerning the destiny of humanity and the Earth. And now, he would have stated, his expression turning more serious, reflecting the gravity of what he was about to share. I must tell you what has been revealed to me concerning the imminent future of humankind and the great sifting that is to come. We are indeed living in the final moments of one age and on the very cusp of a new one. A profound transformation is rapidly approaching, a period of great testing and purification, and not all souls currently incarnate, or even those in the spirit realms nearest to Earth, will necessarily remain in this planetary sphere. He explained that the Earth itself is preparing to undergo a kind of spiritual selection, a cleansing, not imposed by a wrathful deity, but as a natural consequence of spiritual law. Those souls who had earnestly striven to elevate their consciousness, to attune their lives to the vibrations of divine love, selfless service, and true forgiveness, would have the opportunity to remain and help build the kingdom of God on earth, a new era of peace and enlightenment. This transformed earth would, in time, become a place of regeneration and higher spiritual expression. However, Cayce cautioned that those souls who persistently clung to negative vibrations, to patterns of selfishness, hatred, or materialism, would, by the same natural law, find themselves increasingly out of harmony with the rising spiritual frequency of the planet. They would, in essence, be gently guided or transferred to other spheres of experience, other many mansions in the Father's house that were more compatible with their current level of spiritual development, there to continue their lessons. This is not a divine judgment in the way many conceive it, he would have carefully clarified, but rather a natural law of vibratory attunement, much like how oil and water will naturally separate. Spirits of vastly different vibrations cannot comfortably or constructively coexist in the same environment for extended periods. Each soul will gravitate towards the conditions most conducive to its next stage of learning and unfoldment. He revealed that this process of sifting and spiritual realignment had already subtly begun and was set to intensify in the coming decades. Humanity would witness great upheavals and transformations, not only socially and environmentally, but also deep within the spiritual fabric of existence. Many souls currently residing in the lower, darker, or more confused realms of the spirit world, those dimensions closest to the earth plane often characterized by spiritual fogginess or unresolved earthly attachments, would also be part of this great transition, being moved to spheres more suited for their progress, thus allowing the earth's own spiritual atmosphere to become clearer and more harmonious. This is why the work we have undertaken has always been so profoundly urgent. Edgar Cayce would have impressed upon his listeners, his voice resonating with deep earnestness. Every single soul we have managed to awaken to its spiritual purpose. Every heart we have touched with a reminder of God's love. Every individual who has begun to sincerely practice the principles of charity, compassion, and constructive thought. Each one represents a victory, a vital contribution to the spiritual resilience and upliftment of humanity during this pivotal, great transition. The purpose was not to create fear, but to awaken responsibility and inspire conscious participation in the planet's spiritual destiny. But what of his own role after his physical passing? Would his work cease, or would it merely change its form? The answer to this was Cayce's next poignant revelation. A gentle, almost imperceptible smile might have touched Edgar Cayce's lips as he sensed the weighty thoughts of his companions. And do you imagine, he may have continued, his voice carrying a tone of serene reassurance, that this work, what has been my life, will simply cease with the passing of this physical body? He would have let the rhetorical question hang in the air for a moment. In truth, it will only change its form, its scope. From the spiritual realms, unencumbered by the limitations of earthly flesh, the opportunities to serve, to guide, and to assist in the awakening of souls can be even more extensive and immediate. He then revealed to his astonished friends and family that he had received, through his deep communion with the Source, an understanding of his continued activities in the spiritual planes. He would not be idle. His soul's commitment to service would persist, and he anticipated being able to work closely with those spiritual forces dedicated to Earth's upliftment, perhaps even helping to guide and inspire sincere seekers and spiritual workers on Earth from a higher vantage point. He envisioned a role in helping to coordinate and support the efforts of consolation, healing, and spiritual enlightenment on a broader, more global scale than was ever possible during his single, geographically bound lifetime. The sources impressed upon me, he might have explained, that after a period of adjustment and deeper learning in the spirit world, my own soul will join more fully with collective of those who minister to Earth's needs. My ability to aid the work we've begun here, the efforts of the Association for Research and Enlightenment to bring forth these truths, will not be diminished but potentially amplified. My reach will not be limited by physical presence, but expanded through spirit. If this journey of reflection and discovery speaks to your heart, supporting us with a like, and subscribing to the channel allows us to continue sharing these inspiring explorations together. Furthermore, Edgar Cayce also shared his understanding that the soul's journey is continuous, and service can take many forms across many lifetimes. He spoke of the possibility of returning to earthly incarnation at some future point, when the collective consciousness of humanity had advanced significantly in its spiritual evolution, when the world was more prepared to receive and understand the deeper spiritual truths and the interconnectedness of all life. I may one day return to a world more spiritually awakened, he might have mused, a world where the gifts of the Spirit are more openly accepted and understood as natural aspects of human experience, and where I might, therefore, be able to serve even more directly and effectively in the divine plan. This was not a promise of a specific timeline, but an affirmation of the soul's eternal commitment to growth and service, guided by divine will. His listeners would have felt a profound sense of continuity, a reassurance that the extraordinary spiritual current that flowed through Edgar Cayce would not be extinguished, but merely transformed. The work was indeed vast, eternal, and ever unfolding, but there were still more personal and intricate revelations to come, secrets hidden within the very fabric of the readings he had given. Edgar Cayce then shared another profound secret regarding the very readings that had defined his life. There is much within the thousands of discourses, he might have revealed, his voice soft but clear, that holds layers of meaning, like seeds of light, planted for future understanding. Many of the concepts, especially those concerning health, the powers of the mind, ancient history, and spiritual laws, contain insights that science and general understanding will only grasp in the decades, perhaps even centuries, to come. These were given not just for the individuals present, but as a heritage for humanity, to be unlocked as consciousness evolves. He spoke of how the principles of prayer and forgiveness were not mere moral virtues, but potent spiritual dynamics, capable of transforming lives and even breaking ancient karmic cycles when applied with sincere intent and love. He may have also touched upon his own soul's long journey, perhaps alluding to significant past incarnations, not for personal aggrandizement, but to illustrate the continuity of purpose and the preparation his soul underwent for his present mission. Lives perhaps as a healer in ancient lands or a teacher of spiritual truths, all contributing to the work he was concluding. He then spoke of the vast spiritual hierarchies, the councils of light or Great White Brotherhood. He had occasionally been made aware of highly evolved beings who oversee cosmic evolution and are deeply involved in Earth's current transition, always respecting free will but offering immense love and guidance. The power of prayer, he would have emphasized, is far greater than most comprehend. A truly sincere prayer, aligned with divine will, creates potent vibrations that reach far beyond our immediate perception, becoming a force for healing and upliftment in the world. His final message then turned to the very nature of our existence. I want you to know with absolute certainty, he would have said, his eyes meeting each of theirs a profound love, that death as an end does not exist. What we call death is merely a transition, a change of garments for the soul. We continue. We remain conscious. We go on loving, learning, and serving. He stressed the preciousness of earthly life, precisely because of its temporal nature, as the arena for making choices that shape our eternal journey, and for truly learning the depths of unconditional love. When I depart from this body, he might have gently forewarned, alluding to his imminent passing. Remember this conversation. Know that I am not gone, but continue to live, to work, and to love each of you from the other side. My efforts to assist will only expand. His ultimate words painted a glorious destiny for humanity, a future where spiritual truths will become widely known, and experiences now deemed miraculous will be understood as natural expressions of our divine heritage. In the years that followed Edgar Cayce's passing, his prophecies began to unfold, a burgeoning global interest in spirituality, holistic healing, and psychic phenomena. The dedicated work of the ARE in preserving and sharing his readings, allowing countless lives to be touched. The deeper layers within his discourses continue to be explored, revealing timeless wisdom that resonates with each new generation. His legacy shows him to be far more than a psychic. He was a spiritual pioneer, a humble channel for divine truth, paving the way for a new era of consciousness. His life reminds us that we are all eternal souls, interconnected by indestructible bonds of love, journeying together towards a magnificent destiny of infinite growth and joy. As we reflect on our shared journey and profound interconnectedness of all things, comment, "We are connected," below to affirm this universal truth with our community. And your exploration doesn't have to end here. Click the video now appearing on your screen for another powerful message.